We celebrated our anniversary with a bang in Philadelphia, and we found a truly amazing tapas restaurant. And believe me, I don't think there was anything on that menu we didn't try. So let's break it all down, and that's starting right now. My wife Cassie's really good at finding these places where they have really nice sampling menus. And being that this was our anniversary dinner and we were out of town, there's no way we weren't gonna go all out and do like a chef's tasting. Now here at Oloroso, they had 3 different versions of a chef's tasting menu. There was the first level, which seemed to just be tapas, which was $55 a person. There was what they called a 5-course gusto, which I guess came with more of the protein style dishes. That was $75 a person. But I said we went all out. We went with the chef's tasting, and that was $95 a person. And this was understanding that the plates probably were not gonna stop coming. And that's exactly what happened. So to complement that, we got a really nice bottle of red wine. It was called Lágrimas de Pilar. It was a nice deep red wine, kind of intense. I'm not a big wine connoisseur, so I don't know how to go into all the tasting notes and all that, but it was very enjoyable with all the tapas that we had. One thing we did know was that as food started to come out, it was just going to be relentless. And as far as this breakdown here, even if I rattled off all the components that were in these things, it would fill up an entire YouTube video. I'm going to react to things as I show you them on the screen here. The first course is where we really got overwhelmed. They just absolutely loaded the table with stuff. There was a cheese course, Valdione, with a little bit of a fruit compote, a little platter of Iberico ham with some Marcona olives on top. Can't go wrong with those. And the ham here was sliced into little bite-sized pieces. Truly amazing. There were these silly little green bean things that had some harissa, some basil, and toasted breadcrumb. A really incredible bite. Something called setas, which is mushroom with sun-dried tomatoes marinated in sherry vinegar. Another amazing bite. Had to ride the trend here, tinned anchovies, but these were adorned with a salsa verde, something called a guinadilla pepper, and some cipollini onions on there. I am not a canned fish person, but I truly enjoyed these, especially with the beautiful bread that was on the table there. There were some roasted beets with a coconut kefir, some mint, pistachio. I love beets, and I really love this rendition of beets. These almost seem boring, but some olives with citrus. This type of green olive, kind of like a Cerignola olive, is one of my favorites, and that citrus puts it over the top. Not to downplay it, but compared to everything else on the table, like I said, it kind of seems underwhelming. There wasn't any more room on the table at that point, but I'm sure if there was, they would have put more plates on the table. So they gave us a little while to munch on this stuff, and when I tell you I think we polished off the entire table of snacks there, I think we enjoyed everything so much there that we didn't even think about the fact that we weren't leaving anything. And this isn't the type of experience where you want to have any leftovers. It's not like that's a goal. Then the second course came, and at a certain point I think we lost track of the actual numbering of the courses, but this course consisted of 2 plates, and these were definitely cooked and assembled plates of food. The first little bite looked like a mozzarella stick, but was actually a buñuelos de bacalao, a cod potato fritter with citrus aioli. Not a huge fish person, but cod potato fritter, absolutely amazing, and that aioli was perfect with it. Nice little crispy exterior, definitely reminds you of deep fried mac and cheese or mozzarella stick, definitely in that neighborhood. And then the other plate is patatas bravas, where it was done up more like a round fritter and then served with a manchego saffron aioli. Really amazing. These things both came out piping hot, but they tasted incredible. Then there was what I'm calling the third course, which honestly seemed a lot more meager because you went from a plate full of stuff for the first course, 2 plates for the second course, and 1 plate for the third course. But again, I think the numbering of the courses is like a red herring here. In this case here, the 1 plate was nice grilled shrimp, gambas al ajillo, with just chili pepper and lemon. Very simple. These are served with the head on, and being that this was a little bit of an adventure, I did try to do the thing where you suck the head out. Not my thing. The next dish that came out, I was on my own for because Cassie doesn't really like eggplant, but I thought it was absolutely amazing. Charred eggplant, honey, ginger, tahini spices with scallions. It had a little microgreen on top, so I figured you eat it like a salad, and I absolutely loved it, but I really love that kind of roasted eggplant and the sweet with it with the spices. Totally amazing. My mouth is watering thinking about it again, honestly. Now we get into the heavy hitters. You can't have a tapas dinner without octopus, and this was a really good rendition with a mamarara on the side, like a roasted pepper dip. Also a little bit of fennel fronds, some black olives. This was a deeply intense dish, but it was very tasty, and they had that octopus cooked perfectly. They also brought us grilled branzino with a salsa macha, some pecans, and some guajillo pepper. This was another one, really simple in that the fish was kind of lightly seasoned, but one side of it was caked with all that stuff, and taken together it's a nice complex bite. And the portion here was perfect, just a couple of bites each. Just given the scope of everything that night, it felt nice to not have to down a giant piece of fish. But the most substantial dish of the night came out next, and for the life of me, I have no idea what it is. I just just know it was very beefy, a lot of beef, definitely a lot of mint on the plate, and just scanning through the menu, it definitely wasn't anything that was on their general offerings that day. So this might have been a chef's special that was sent out for us as part of the chef's tasting, pretty much exclusive to the chef's tasting. But also service there was kind of fast paced, so it wasn't like we could stop the server to actually get a little bit of a rundown of what it was. I guess we could have. We were just so deep into it at that point and just enjoying each other's company that it just wasn't really something we thought about. But at the same time, another beef dish came, and this one I know for a fact was the New York strip, served with roasted peppers, green onions, and a tiny bit of salsa verde. This was really good, and you can see here the steak is really expertly cooked. New York strip is not a difficult cut to cook, but it's an easy cut to mess up, so the fact that they didn't mess it up is a good thing. But given that this was the last dish of the night, at least before dessert, having something so well executed was a really nice touch, and definitely a cherry on top of a great tapas experience. But a meal like this of course comes with dessert, and they gave us two. The first being olive oil cake, and I adore olive oil cakes, especially in this context. A little bit of whipped cream, a little bit of apricot, a little bit of mint, absolutely perfect. And then the other dish was kind of vastly different. It was more of like a mousse, a chocolate mousse. I want to say chocolate caramel, and that was topped with a little bit of whipped cream and some cocoa nibs, which are a little bit bitter and kind of worked really well against all that sweetness with that nice smooth texture. Really amazing. But the big discovery for me that evening, just based on the name of the restaurant, Oloroso, was that it was a dessert wine, so you know I had to check it out. And they had a handful of different varieties, so I went with what was their most popular one on the menu, and I gotta say, never having this style dessert wine before, I absolutely loved it. Really intense, served super cold, absolutely the perfect thing for dessert, and really nice thing to cap off a nice evening with my wife. I really do have to say that our experience at Oloroso was the perfect anniversary dinner, and in comparison to the other tapas experiences I've had, this is definitely in the upper echelon, especially compared to our last visit to Philadelphia where we tried out a Food Network chef tapas restaurant. This is definitely head and shoulders above that experience. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to hit this video with a like and subscribe so more of these videos come up in your feed. If you want to go deeper into our Philadelphia trip, I'll leave that on the screen here, or if you want to see more tapas, you can check that out right here.